From Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, welcome to Tennessee Spring Football, presented by Regions Bank. It is the orange and white game as we get ready for year 4 of the Butch Jones era. And the Tennessee faithful excited. As you can see, they were here early. Lines had already formed by 9 a.m. to get inside the stadium for an autograph session. Of course, Butch Jones, a headliner there, and you see how long the lines could have been. Young and old, ready to hit the checkerboard as we get set for the orange and white game here in Knoxville. And a special delivery of our game balls. The Leapfrogs from the United States Navy, high above the Tennessee River here in East Tennessee, dropping in on us as we bring you football for the first time since January with this Tennessee Volunteer team. And the reason the expectations through the roof throughout Vol Nation, a remarkable year last year, 9 wins, the most since 2007. They finished the season on a 6-game win streak, including demolishing Northwestern in the Outback Bowl, and they returned 17 starters. Welcome, everybody. Alongside Todd Blackledge, I'm Tom Hart. We'll hear from Dr. Jerry Punch in just a moment. Now, off the field, there are some serious issues around this Tennessee program, but on the field, some very serious talent. It's why many people will have them picked to win the East this year.
Well, and I think there's reason for the optimism. You mentioned the returning talent. Butch Jones, this is his 4th year, so he is recruited extremely well. He and his staff, this is his full roster. Not only do they have frontline depth, but a talent, but they have the depth as well, and I think that gives them a chance. They also have an experienced quarterback, which not too many teams in the SEC can say that they have. Now, the downside, they still have to prove it on the field. And their first league game is against a team that on September 24th that they haven't beaten in 11 tries, and that's University of Florida. So they've got all the pieces in place. They still have to prove it on the field.
So how do they take that next step? One key, as Todd mentioned, a quarterback that has more returning starts than anyone else in the SEC. That is Josh Dobbs.
Well, the biggest thing for Josh Dobbs, I love his mental approach to the game. I love that he's a dual threat guy, but he's got to improve his passing completion percentage, and I think he'll do that this year. For him, it's footwork. That's where accuracy comes as a quarterback. It's more about your feet than it is your arm, and I also think it's a little bit incumbent on the play calling. Get him some easy throws to go with that powerful running game.
We'll see a new defensive coordinator for Tennessee as well, so there are some changes around this program. Not sure we'll see all of those changes in person today. It may be a little vanilla.
It's going to be very vanilla between the fact that you don't want to show too much to your competitors, and also a lot of that talent isn't going to play today. They're keeping them out for precautionary reasons. A lot of guys banged up, nursing some off-season surgery, so we're not going to see a lot of their frontline players, but it's still going to be fun to watch.
Well, as we focus on Josh Dobbs in the throw game, we'll also spend a lot of time talking about this great Tennessee running game. Jalen Hurd and Alvin Kamara may be the best backfield duo in the SEC, and if you're the best in the ACC, you might be the best in the country.
Well, absolutely, and I think that they're a good change of pace backfield as well, because Hurd is big, very much like the guy who won the Heisman from Alabama, and Derrick Henry, big physical guy who can also run outside. And Kamara is more of a shifty guy, make you miss guy, and I think they're going to utilize him a lot differently this year, move him around, different formations. He's their top returning receiver with 34 catches a year ago, so I think that they'll utilize him in a lot of different ways to get the most out of that backfield together.
In your opinion, as the coaches come into this game, they've already got 15 practices under their belt. They got a long offseason waiting for them. What do they want to see today? What's most important?
Well, I think with some of the guys that have been in battles and competing that they don't know for sure about, I think they want to see what they look like in a situation like this. With a lot of people in the stands, there's brighter lights in a day like this. How do guys compete? How do guys step up as they try to fit the pieces of depth when they go into a regular season, realizing we can't just win with 22. We have to have guys behind that. So I think the biggest thing they want to find out today, who can we count on next September in terms of depth?
Some of the shortcomings from this team last year circled around the fact that they had a hard time holding leads. The Oklahoma one was one of the biggest, but of all their 4 losses, they had a lead, including a 14-0 lead against Arkansas in the first quarter. Now, they lost to some great teams.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. But that's one thing, one area they want to see cleaned up.
Absolutely, and you know that's great for a coach like Butch Jones to find something to hang on to and to motivate his team to say we've got to finish better. They did a great job. They finished the season extremely well with 6 wins down the stretch and a very convincing win over Northwestern in the bowl game. But you're right. I think that part of it, finishing games offensively, being able to move the football, run the football, make first downs, defensively being able to get off the field on 3rd down and get some critical stops. late in the game will all be a big part of what their focus is.
We'll see just how much we see from Josh Dobbs today, but the focus will be on that Tennessee throw game, as Butch Jones calls it. What kind of wide receivers can step up and help him today? And with a lot of them injured, we'll see an opportunity for plenty of walk-on wide receivers as well. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get you down to the field. Dr. Jerry Punch spending some time with us and the head coach, Butch Jones.
Hey, thanks, guys. Coach, so much energy and excitement here in Rocky Top today, and why not? Coming off that impressive 9-win season, the big Outback Bowl win over a Big Ten opponent. But now, what's this team need to do to build on that success and take the next step maybe toward an SEC division title or more this year?
Well, it starts with competitive depth across the board, 9 positions strong, but also finishing, closing games out, clutch plays, clutch players. Today's another great evaluation tool for everyone, and they're putting their football identity on video as we move forward to August training camp.
Among the goals today and for spring, we're to become more physical, find the physicality of the team, but also something called finding the 25. What is that?
Well, we're 13-5 in our last 18 games, and those 5 losses have come by a combined total of 25 points. Those 25 points are everywhere, but they're the hardest 25 points to find, whether it's your style of play, how you do in the classroom, maybe in the meeting room, and that's what we're searching for, is those 25-plus points.
Hey, Coach, what a great crowd. Why don't we get this started? Thanks for having us here today. We'll get this thing cranked up.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Head coach Butch Jones getting ready to start what's called the Circle of Life. We're going to see that physicality right away.
All right, Doc, thank you. Butch Jones has the microphone. He will be the ringleader and the MC throughout the day, just as it is every day at practice on the other side of campus.
Let's get it started. Tennessee style, Circle of Life. We have a special treat with the introductions. Offensive lineman Thomas Edwards.
Welcome to Neyland Stadium. All fans here and around the world, let's get ready to rumble! Up first, from Memphis, Drew Richmond versus Virginia native Darrell Taylor.
Well, Todd, there's a way to get started. Get out on the power tee and go head-to-head with a guy you've been working with for the last 15 practices.
I'll tell you what, drills like this are exciting anyway, but again, when you put both teams on the side and 30,000 people in the stands, it's an adrenaline rush. Leverage. Who can stay low? Who can maintain leverage in a drill like this?
Two big fellas, a pair of 300-pounders tying each other up. Khalil McKenzie, the sophomore from California, and Benzel Boulware, redshirt freshman from Union City, Georgia. Now Austin Sanders and Corey Vereen will go head-to-head. Well, new defensive coordinator Bob Shoop showed up for his first practice, turned on the film. He said, "Who's number 50? He's been impressive all year."
Well, everybody knows about the guy on the other side, Derek Barnett, but Vereen is a guy who stepped up and made a lot of plays for this defense a year ago, and Bob Shoop expecting that tandem to be one of the best in the league.
Here's a couple newcomers. Jeff George, junior college wide receiver, against Marquil Osborne, early enrollee freshman from the Charlotte, North Carolina area. He'll be playing nickelback today.
You want to have a great running game, you got to be able to block on the perimeter. Sometimes you just got to get in the way of a guy. You don't have to be an overpowering blocker, but you got to be able to stay in the way.
The little guys popping the pads here early.
The German boy wonder, Jakob Johnson versus
Jakob Johnson is now a tight end. He was a linebacker in the squad last year. Corte Sapp is a newcomer. Took a red shirt last year.
I knew Sapp was going to get called out in this drill. I heard a funny story about him. He said to his fellow linebackers, he called himself a finesse linebacker. They all laughed at him and said, there's no such thing as a finesse linebacker. So he's going to get tested in every kind of drill like this.
Give me the
Circle of Life will roll on here. When we return to Knoxville, it'll be the ones versus the ones. Josh Dobbs will be a quarterback for Tennessee as the orange and white game continues from Knoxville.
SEC Network Spring Football is presented by Regions Bank, proud to be the official bank of the SEC.
The Leapfrogs from the United States Navy bringing in the game ball high above Knoxville and East Tennessee, and a tandem jump to finish it off. A little bit of style from those guys. And style here at Neyland Stadium is the ones versus the ones have taken the field. Playing with that game ball that was dropped in. A couple plays into it, we've seen an Alvin Kamara run and an incomplete pass from Josh Dobbs. It was dropped by tight end Ethan Wolf. So the third play of the scrimmage now, and Dobbs out of the shotgun. And another one up the hands of a receiver, and it's picked off by Tennessee. Todd Kelly Jr., who had 3 picks last year, comes up with a takeaway. We'll have points for the defense. Here's how the scoring system works the spring game today. Any play plus or minus 4 yards is a point for a side. Big plays will get you 3 points. A takeaway by the defense, we've seen our first, is worth 7. And all those one-on-one situations we've already seen and will continue to see will be worth a point.
Well, alert play on the ball by Todd Kelly, but Josh Dobbs did his job on that. Stepped up in the pocket under duress, made a nice accurate throw. Receiver's got to try to catch up with his hands and not let it get into his shoulder pads.
And so Quentin Dormity's first turn at quarterback, and he hands it off to Jason Sparks, walk-on running back out of Loganville, Georgia. Paul Bain with the stop for the Orange team. So Josh Dobbs got 1 goal of it. Now it's Dormity, the sophomore from Boerne, Texas, who saw limited time last season. And Dormity chased and flushed. They'll have some room to rumble, but they're going to whistle that one dead back at about the 28-yard line. Is Darrell Taylor, the redshirt freshman who got back there on Dormity.
One of the things that Mike DeBoer talked to me this morning about with Dormity, he says, you know, he's got to continue to develop his pocket presence. With Josh Dobbs, if he gets flushed out of the pocket, he's probably going to turn that into a run for a positive game. Dormity has to be able to make throws when he gets flushed out of the pocket, because that's where he is stronger, throwing out of the pocket instead of running.
A 3rd and long situation for Dormity, who completed 59% of his passes last year. Pressure from the edge. Dormity will try to run with this one.
Now that's a good decision, because he kept his eyes down the field. He was looking to make a throw when he got forced out of the pocket. It wasn't there. That's the right decision for the young quarterback.
There's Mike DeBoer, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. It's a 16-yard scramble for Dormity. I think that's really interesting. We know what Josh Dobbs can do with his legs, so how can Dormity, when he's pressured, how can he find a positive play?
Well, again, if you're stronger as a thrower, you just got to keep your eyes down the field, because as you leave the pocket, especially if they're used to a quarterback like Josh Dobbs, defenders are going to move towards you instinctively. That's going to open up throwing opportunities down the field.
Trevor Daniel punts it away. Cameron Sutton will take it. We'll see all fair catches today. 40-yard punt from Trevor Daniel. By the way, Tennessee was magnificent special teams in the return game last year. Cameron Sutton was back there along with Barry, and they were first in the nation in kickoff returns and 4th in punt returns. Evan Barry led the country with 38 yards per kickoff return, and they had 2 games during the season where they had 2 different returns for scores. Barry missed most of the spring with a shoulder injury. He was out on the practice field in a non-contact situation on Thursday, but we will not see him today. More than 20 players missing action today due to injury. John Kelly is the running back here next to Joshua Dobbs. And play action over the middle, finds his tight end, and a big rumbling opportunity for Ethan Wolf. All the way down the hash marks and finally tracked down by Cameron Sutton.
Well, so far, I would say Josh Dobbs has thrown the ball with accuracy. Watch him use his eyes. He looks to the right, then comes back to the receiver, crossing to the middle. His eyes are what opened up the defense, and then the accuracy. Again, being accurate throwing the football has more to do with your feet than it does with your arm.
57-yard completion that time. And Todd Kelly Jr. comes up to make the tackle on John Kelly. You're talking about the accuracy from Dobbs. First 2 attempts of the day were both drops. And it's what the coaching staff has been talking about. Listen, Our quarterback completed almost 60% of his passes last year. As we try to improve that number, it's not always all on the quarterback.
Yeah.
A lot of variables out there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's play calling, it's receivers, it's quarterback, it's timing, it's pass protection.
And against the blitz on 2nd and 12, one-handed grab. Beautiful catch by Preston Williams. High expectations for Williams this season, and now Tennessee's going to try to go tempo here, get off a quick snap.
And that's a perfect example of a guy is covered well, but he's still open because the defender doesn't find the football. One of the things you want to see a quarterback in his development is recognize, even if a guy is covered tightly, if you throw the ball with the right timing in the right spot, it can still be a completion. And that was a perfect example. Beautifully thrown over the outside shoulder against press man-to-man.
Here's John Kelly. Bounces off defenders and into the checkerboard. 4-yard touchdown run for Kelly, the sophomore from Detroit.
And that's the kind of balance, run-pass balance, that Mike DeBoer and this offensive coaching staff is hoping to see more of out of this Tennessee offense. We know what kind of running game they were able to develop a year ago. One of the best in the league, second best in the conference at 224 yards per game. But they have to find a way to create better balance with their passing game, and showed up in that drive.
Aaron Medley on to attempt the extra point. And Medley punches it through. So 2 big pass plays covering 79 yards from Dobbs to his receivers. First touchdown of the game. Well, Josh Dobbs is a starting quarterback for Tennessee, and we're talking about improving the throwing game for the Vols.
Well, it starts with decision making. You're going to see 2 plays from a year ago. Just was not a good decision of where to throw the football. Now, his interception today, good movement in the pocket, good decision, and an accurate throw. His receiver just didn't help him out. Sometimes it's on the quarterback, sometimes it's on someone else.
2 big completions on that last drive, though. And Quentin Dormady just completed a pass to Jeff George, a junior college transfer. And now they will keep it on the ground. A little bit of space on the left side. Plenty more for John Kelly. He's got great speed.
John Kelly carry.
GPS trackers in practice have tracked Kelly at 22 miles an hour. Just as a reference point, I think we can all agree that Usain Bolt's pretty fast. At his fastest, he was tracked at 28 miles an hour.
Wow. And the coaches think he got even faster this year. He's always been a strong runner, a physical runner. They think his speed even improved this season.
That was a 27-yard run for John Kelly. We haven't seen Jalen Hurd or Alvin Kamara, the 2 stars in Tennessee's ground game, just yet. It's been primarily Kelly. And here he is again.
John Kelly carry. First by Micah Abernathy.
Let's go down the field and check in with Doc.
Hey guys, talking with the offensive coordinator Mike DeBoer yesterday about Quentin Dormady and how he's developed from last year. He said a year ago he came in just trying to learn the offense. He was really trying to, the learning curve was very steep. Said this year he not only knows the offense and has a comfort level as you watch the play, he's learned how to move within the pocket, which we saw him done earlier as the pass is incomplete. He said Dormady is able to move within the pocket and understand that certain movements will give you a chance to complete the pass, and also certain movements will allow you to escape the pocket if you have to, something he didn't do a year ago.
Yeah, sometimes that movement, Doc, doesn't even have to be to leave the pocket. It's just little quick steps to give yourself a new window, a new place to throw the football. Sometimes you actually have to get out of there completely.
Here's Jason Sparks with his second carry. He's able to find the edge.
It's interesting, too. We talk about the development of a young quarterback. Jerry gave the report that last year he was just trying to figure out what to do, and that's the first step. What do I do on this play? Then the next level of progression is not only what do I do, but what do the other guys around me do? And then when you really take the next step, it's why are we doing this? Why are we running this play in this situation? That's when you know a quarterback really is starting to get it.
Sparks took a lick as he got to the edge, but couldn't turn it upfield.
Jason Sparks on the carry. That first by Darrell Taylor.
Tennessee showing a lot of tempo here.
Gain of 1.
Way they want to play.
Might be a bit of a change from last year, although many people think that Dobbs was a better quarterback when Tennessee was running more tempo.
Well, he's such a smart guy, and he has the experience and a feel for the offense. I think if you trust the guy with what your game plan is and getting your guys in the right spot, I think it's a huge advantage for offenses. I really do.
Experience on the offensive line, as you saw Quentin Dormady give those guys the play call. And on 3rd and 4, lob to the end zone, and a jump ball that is won by Jeff George. And so 2 playmaking wide receivers already.
And see, that's exactly the same thing. That was good coverage by the defender. That was not a wide open receiver, but you put the ball in a spot where your guy has a chance to go make a play. And typically, wide receivers, especially tall ones that are 6'6" like this guy, have a better feel for jumping and catching the ball high as opposed to a defender who's just trying to stay in the right position.
And an opportunity for these guys like George and Williams to maximize their reps. They're missing throughout the spring. Josh Malone, Juwan Jennings got hurt late in practice. Vincent Perry's out till June. And Josh Smith missed a couple practices late. We won't see any of those frontline wide receivers for Tennessee today.
Now, I heard Cam Cameron, the offensive coordinator at LSU, whose game is coming on after this, probably explain that the best to me, that a wide receiver is not just open on one side or the other. It's also a vertical way to get open, and you throw the football up and let those big tall receivers go and get it.
Well, speaking of LSU, spring football continues today on the SEC ESPN Network, 4 Eastern. LSU's National Elk Club spring game, and then at 6 with Missouri's Black and Gold game. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Brandon Harris will be a quarterback for LSU. We got that Leonard Fournette kid behind him. They expect about 20 snaps for Fournette today. 300 carries last year, better than 1,900 yards, 32 touchdowns, and a first-team All-American.
Very similar to here in Knoxville. I mean, Leonard Fournette is probably hoping more than anything that the passing game at LSU improves. The better balance you have, the better he becomes. I mean, and he's pretty doggone good to begin with.
Alvin Kamara on the field for the first time at tailback for Tennessee, and he's going to throw the football. Kamara corks one deep, but overthrew his man by 5 yards. He was trying to find Jason Crone, the former wide receiver turned tight end.
Butch Jones told me this morning in his office they were going to start the scrimmage today with a trick play. They waited a little while. He got a little nervous, I guess. Wanted to hang on to it for a while, but that was well designed and it was open. Just a slight overthrow by Kamara.
Well, he's got 2 great running backs he can lean on. Now his other good one, Jalen Hurd, is in the game. Hurd gets his first carry. We were told yesterday that neither Hurd nor Kamara would be taken to the ground and tackled live. They would just be a thud. Well, you can see that went out the window. And for more on Jalen Hurd, this guy getting it done in both rooms, a weight room and a film room, right, Doc?
Absolutely. Strength and conditioning coaches told me that Jalen Hurd does 3 sets of 8 one-arm curls with 120-pound dumbbells in each arm. Why 120? Because they don't have anything any bigger for him. He's that physical. And now when I talked to Jalen yesterday about what he wanted to improve on, he said, Coach Gillespie said, we're going to watch film. And like Steph Curry, we're not going to watch films of shots he made. We're going to watch film of shots he missed so we know how to get better. So they watch films of runs Hurd made a year ago. They should have gone for longer. And Hurd said, I need to improve my burst, my top end speed, but most importantly, my second level cuts. I've got to make linebackers and safeties miss in the open field, which is what he's been working on the entire spring.
Well, I tell you what, Doc, if he gets better, watch out.
Yeah.
He's 891 yards shy of Travis Henry's career rushing record here at Tennessee. That number stands at 3,078. Kamara back to return this punt. And the Alabama transfer takes it cleanly at the 22.
He talks about improving his second level cuts and being able to make people miss. When you listen to some of the great backs, it's about vision. And it's not just seeing the initial guy who's coming to make the tackle. It's almost seeing beyond that to the next guy. You figure you can make one guy miss, but can you make the second guy miss? And if he gets better at that, like you said, watch out in the SEC.
Well, he's doing those curls and he's building up that body already, 6'4", 240. Kamara with a little bit more speed, but they can both get it done. And boy, Hurd was at it again Outback Bowl MVP against Northwestern and some big runs early in the season against Oklahoma and company.
Well, and then you throw in a quarterback who ran for nearly 700 yards. So you recognize the explosiveness of this offense. If they get the passing game and utilize Kamara particularly in different creative ways in their passing game, this could be the most explosive offense in the SEC.
It would be no surprise then, if you take into account Hurd, Kamara, and Dobbs, that Tennessee led the SEC in rushing attempts per game. Quick change here, 2,908 yards on the ground last year for Tennessee, the most since their 1951 national championship team. We play at a quarter here in the orange and white spring game in Knoxville. We'll bring it back to Neyland Stadium in just a moment. Well, a high-scoring spring game. Already 50 points on the board between the orange and the white, and a great crowd on hand here today at Neyland Stadium. It's a win-win, right? Whether you're pulling for the offense or defense, it's still your team. The only guys that make it, Boot, are the fellas in stripes, and we've seen our first flag of the day on a pass interference call.
Interesting, unique scoring system used for this spring game. We've seen 2 touchdowns.
There's Jakob Johnson, the linebacker, as a tight end.
Pass complete.
We've seen a lot of pressure coming from this new-look defense of Bob Shoop. Should we expect more of that in the regular season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure he's sitting on his hands and not happy about it here today, because he is an aggressive-minded defensive coordinator. Likes to bring pressure. I think they'll be a very pressure-oriented team. He did a great job at Vanderbilt and Penn State and creating that pressure mentality. He's a very cerebral defensive coordinator. Really challenges his guys mentally in the film room, on the field, and I think it's been an outstanding fit so far. He's a real bright young coach that has really had a short but a very promising track record so far.
He was an Ivy League player. He also spent 3 years as the head coach at Columbia. He's one of a handful of coaches on this staff that have head coaching experience. For more, let's go down to the field and dive.
Yeah, when Coach Shoop came here, he adopted to use the old terminology that Coach John Jancic was using a year ago to make the transition easier for the defense. The players respected that. Said, Coach, it's going to make it so much easier on us if you do that. But what he does is he really likes being aggressive. When the players ask him about his scheme, his comment is, I've never met a blitz I didn't like. So they nicknamed him Coach Bob Blitz Shoop here on the staff.
When our coaches meetings wrapped up yesterday, Bob Shoop was on his way into the room. Mike DeBoer, the offensive coordinator, is on his way out. DeBoer said in jest over his shoulder, "Oh, TV rules, no blitzing today? Fine, just make sure you tell the defensive coordinator." Not so much.
That's always the case in spring games. The other interesting thing about him and his association here, he had no prior association with Butch Jones, but because he was at Vanderbilt with James Franklin, a lot of the players on this Tennessee defense in particular were guys that he was recruiting to try to get to come to Vanderbilt. And many of them didn't come there, but he still established, in recruiting you establish relationships. And I think that was kind of a unique thing, and one of the things that attracted him to come here in the offseason. As a matter of fact, one of the key leaders of this defense, we're not seeing him today, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, outstanding outside linebacker, is very close and has maintained a close relationship with Shoop over the course of his career here in Tennessee.
Dormany threads the needle and finds Jeff George for the completion. That's going to leave 4th and short for the white team. Maybin out with a shoulder injury. He had surgery a little while ago, and he expects to be back full go for the opener against Appalachian State.
Jeff George is one of those guys showing up here so far in the game. A tall, lanky receiver at 6'6". Not a real physical guy, but getting a lot of reps because of wide receiver injuries in the spring.
George is from Leavenworth, Kansas, out of Dodge City Community College. Is Cortez Sapp with a finesse tackle on Jason Sparks there.
Still having a hard time every time I hear his name thinking of a wide receiver, because Jeff George, I know, was probably the prettiest passer I ever saw throw a football. Out of Illinois, Indianapolis Colts.
I'm sure this Jeff George would have loved catching passes from the other guy.
Boy, he could throw it.
They go straight up the middle with Jason Sparks again. And that's going to leave second down and 6. Give or take a couple. Expectations really will be through the roof for this Tennessee program this season for a lot of different reasons. Not only is this the 4th year for Butch Jones and all of his recruits here, but all the talent they return. And the East in the SEC will be down. There's a lot of transition going on throughout the SEC East. So what kind of concern is it to manage expectations?
Well, it's a concern, but I mean, I think you embrace it. I don't think you ignore it. I don't think you hide from it. I mean, you want to be good. You want to be in that position where people expect you to be good, but it's still a day-to-day sticking to your process. And I think Butch Jones, like a lot of the great coaches in college football, they understand that. It's a day-to-day grind. Stick to the process. Be better today than we were yesterday, and I don't think they'll change from that.
Darrell Taylor a little banged up here. This is the last thing they want to see. We'll step away for a timeout with just under 6 minutes to go before halftime here in the orange and white game. A 12-play drive wraps up with a Laszlo Tozer 43-yard field goal, highlighted by a Logan Fetzner catch on 3rd down, and we have a 37-22 lead for the white over the orange. Tom Hart alongside Todd Blackledge. Dr. Jerry Punch is down on the sidelines. Been a fun day so far, and that's what the coaches are looking for on an afternoon like this. And on this Sun Splash Saturday, let's check in with Doc Punch.
I am down here with offensive line coach Don Mahoney. And, Coach, a year ago, the offensive line looked like a position of concern. You turned it into one of the strongest parts of the football team. How do you replace left tackle Kyler Kerbyson this year?
It's a work in progress. We got some competition that's really healthy. We got some guys that, for the first time, we've got across the board, center, guard, and tackle, where there's some competition. You know, Kyler set the bar, and guys got to meet it, and they've worked extremely hard this spring. He's laid a great foundation. Drew Richmond is really making strides. He's improving, and Brett Kendricks really come on and had a solid spring for us. So going into this fall camp, there's going to be an interesting battle, as well as Chance Hall, Austin Sanders, and Dontavius Blair.
You mentioned Drew Richmond, one of the big-time recruits, rated #2 offensive tackle a year ago, coming in. He redshirted. How has he developed now? Everyone's talking about how well he's played.
He's really making strides. You know, he's extremely hard on himself, and that's a good thing, and it's something that we knew going into the process of just how great he wants to be as a player, really hard on himself, and I think this spring he's done a great job of channeling his emotions, really focusing on what needs to happen each and every play fundamentally, technically, and just really proud how much he's matured this spring, and he's really coming on. The game's starting to slow down for him.
Hey, Coach, thanks for your time. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Don Mahoney, the offensive line coach, and what a job he did a year ago to turn what everyone thought was going to be a concern area to one of the strengths of the offense up front.
All right, Doc, thanks so much. And one of the ways they're doing that is with a running quarterback like Dobbs and tempo.
Well, you know, everybody gets enamored with skill players, you know, quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs, but it all starts up front. And it usually takes that group the longest to develop because you have to have all 5 guys in sync and meshing and working together as a unit, and it takes time. And so hats off to them and for getting that going this past year. But it does help when you have a running quarterback because that takes pressure off your pass protection. It takes pressure off some of your other things. But that offensive line, it starts there. And when you get a couple guys nicked up, it can really change your chemistry up front. One of the things I do, Tom, and I find it very fascinating, as we go through a college football season and you get into the playoffs or towards the end of the year and you look at the starting lineups, the teams that are up there competing for championships in a conference or in a national championship, for the most part, have maintained the same starters at offensive line throughout the course of the season. You look at those teams that have 4, 5, 6 different combinations, they don't do as well.
We're going to have some one-on-one drills here. Preston Wilson will be going against Cameron Sutton.
Good throw. Again, a guy is open even when he's tightly covered if you throw the ball in the right spot with the right timing. You know, these one-on-ones are fun for the fans and exciting, but Butch Jones is excited about it too because it's a great way to evaluate guys one-on-one. There's no hiding.
And there's Jeff George going up using his 6'6" frame to grab another one over the top of Marquell Osborne.
See, if you throw the football in the right spot,
Micah Abernathy.
I don't care how good your coverage is. It's hard to stop.
Jason Kroom now a tight end, and he just bowls over Micah Abernathy. That one may draw a flag.
Yeah, that's going to be offensive pass interference.
He needs to know that the same rules apply whether you're a wide receiver or a tight
Eli
end.
Wolf, Todd Kelly Jr.
Huge expectations for redshirt freshman Eli Wolf at tight end as he works against Todd Kelly Jr.
See, the difference on that route is he didn't push off with his left arm. He got into the defender, made contact with his left shoulder, but then separated without pushing off.
There's Cody Blank and DJ Henderson. So we're watching wide receivers against defensive backs, but when you run a drill like this, how beneficial can it be to the quarterback?
Well, it's beneficial from a timing standpoint because you still need to throw it on time. It's weighted towards the offense, though. There's no question because the quarterback is not under duress. There's no rush. There's no bodies around his feet. But you still need to make sure you throw it with the proper timing.
One of the things that Josh Dobbs told us he's been working on in terms of his accuracies, you see the numbers from Tennessee's passing game last year, is placement of the ball. He said, I want to put the ball on the top of my wide receivers' helmets so then they can do something with it, turn them into ball carriers.
Yeah, the more you can work on your accuracy and throwing the football where it's easy to catch, the better off you are. And again, being open as a receiver is not just to the side, it's also vertical and throwing that football in a position where your guy can make the catch either way.
Let's go down to two very bright guys. Dr. Jared Punch is standing by with Joshua Dobbs.
I'm talking with Josh. Hey, Josh, we're absolutely talking about what a great job you're doing placing the football where the receivers can catch it and run, and also your accuracy. What's the key to how much you've improved this spring?
Just consistency and, footwork. We're going to have to back up. They're yelling at us. But just consistency and footwork, being in the same throwing position every time. So, that's big, on moving routes, especially on deep balls, getting back to a good platform and being able to throw from a consistent position.
Peyton Manning talks about how footwork is what makes a quarterback from being someone that's slinging it to someone being very accurate. Who taught you? Who helps you with the footwork part?
Honestly, the coaching staff here, Coach DeBoer, Coach Sheridan, they do a great job in our drills and practice, just doing various things. At home, I work with Quincy Avery, and he's always watching my film, finding out ways I can improve my game. So he's always trying to take the next step and help me improve from that aspect. So I'm just surrounded by a great group of coaches that really push me every day to get better.
What's the next step between now and when you guys kick it in here in the fall? What else do you want to work on between now and August?
Well, we'll have a lot of new receivers up here. We'll have new guys on offense. So the key is a lot of those guys that are coming in can really help us. So right when they step on campus, it's getting in their ear, pushing them to understand the offense. So when we get to camp, we're picking up where we left off from here in spring, and we continue to move forward to be the team we want to be in the fall.
Hey, Josh, well done. Thanks for taking some time with us.
Thank you very much.
Josh Dobbs, and boy, how far has he come in the spring? Coach is very, very excited about what he's doing throwing the football.
I think one of the things that is going to be very important for him in the offseason, the rest of the summer, is just his conditioning work, too. Because of the fact that he runs the ball so much in this offense, and it's a vital part of what they do, he's got to be in the best shape that he's ever been in career-wise, because a lot of times when you're fatigued from running the football, then your footwork and your mechanics kind of go by the wayside when it comes to throwing the football. So conditioning on his part, and then the coaches being smart with him during the week and limiting his reps in practice so that when it comes game time, he is fresh and well conditioned to play a full 60 minutes.
Great hang time on a 44-yard punt from Tommy Townsend tonight at 10 p.m. on the SEC ESPN Network and streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Tune in for SEC Now as our network analysts discuss all the SEC news of the day. It will be a busy spring and summer for Josh Dobbs, that's for sure. In May, he'll go to Pratt & Whitney and work on his second go-round with the airplane engine builders. Be headed up to Montreal. He said it's a different look. Instead of cleats, he'll be wearing steel-toed boots. And for more on that, let's check in with Doc again.
Yeah, how busy is Dobbs? Last week he had practice on Tuesday. Tuesday night he had to go to Atlanta to receive a role model award at the College Football Hall of Fame. He didn't want to miss that. He comes back and practices Wednesday, Thursday. Then Friday he goes to speak at a regional high school robotics conference. I mean, how do you balance all that schedule that you got to get done here as a quarterback here in spring practice?
And the funny part is, it's not very often that those two things, football and robotics or engineering or engine making, it's not very often they dovetail, but he did tell us he had a project on drag coefficient, so that may have helped when he talks about throwing a tight spiral.
Well, I would imagine that he has about as wide of a variety of a fan base as anybody in college football, because he appeals to the football fan, he appeals to the academic people, he appeals to the nerds. I mean, he appeals to everybody across the board.
And he's running his fashion police now on the sidelines. Zach Jancic is taking over quarterback, third quarterback to see action today for Tennessee. Redshirt freshman out of Knoxville Catholic, the son of former defensive coordinator John Jancic, who's now at South Florida on Willie Taggart's staff.
Pass intended for John
Trying to find John Kelly there.
It's a tough throw to make on that screen. John Kelly, I think, got a little bit too far down the field. He wants to stay behind that escort of linemen that are out in front of him. He kind of got ahead of the action and made it a very, very difficult throw for Jancic.
Tommy Townsend, second-year freshman out of Orlando. His brothers on the team down at Florida. No trash talk between them on Twitter this week, as far as we know. But the Gators have won 11 in a row against Tennessee. So Jalen Hurd's been subtweeting it just a little bit. And it's turning in, as you see Jalen Reeves-Maybin, it's turning into kind of a throwback series now. If both teams meet their expectations when they meet in late September, it could be once again what the Tennessee-Florida rivalry had been so great in the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, at that time, the East had the upper hand in the SEC, clearly. And it was Florida-Tennessee, it was Georgia, and it was typically the winner of the Florida-Tennessee game that kind of dictated who was going to Atlanta and who had the best chance to win the conference title. Obviously, power has shifted a lot to the western side of the league, and Alabama in particular. But that rivalry game with Florida, who they've lost to 11 times in a row, and then their cross-conference rival in Alabama, who they've lost to 9 times in a row, that'll be a great measuring stick of whether this team is ready to take that big jump next year or not.
By the way, speaking of Florida, the head ball coach Steve Spurrier is in the building today. We'll hear from him at the half with Doc Punch. He was honored by the East Tennessee National Football Foundation, the East Tennessee chapter, for the General Robert Nealon Award winner. And Brent Musburger was honored as well with the Lindsey Nelson Award. And by the way, those weren't the other two. Logan Punch was honored as a high school scholar athlete, one of 35 honored this morning at the breakfast. So congratulations all, including Doc's son Logan.
Well, that was another nice throw by Josh Dobbs there. Did a beautiful job of just slightly stepping up in the pocket and completing the ball down the middle of the defense. So far, he has to be pleased. Mike DeBoard has to be pleased with his accuracy throwing the football.
Quarter clock hit zeros. We'll give him a play. And just over the top of the intended receiver, Preston Williams. Well, Alvin Kamara is a guy that had a lot of success outside the tackles last year and can do the same between them. Here's Jalen Hurd.
Heads up.
Little stiff arm at the end there to get past Micah Abernathy. And a rumble of 8 yards for Big Hurd.
You know, when you watch him from this vantage point or on TV, you don't appreciate how incredibly big he is for that position. It's rare Now, Derrick Henry won the Heisman at Alabama, and he was the same kind of a size and stature, although I think Hurd might even be a little bit bigger, a little heavier. But it's so rare to see a running back in college football at 6'4", 240 pounds. That is a big, big man running the football. Sometimes you worry about a guy being that tall, running too upright and taking too many shots, but he has good body lean when he runs the football as well.
Well, he's long been an Eddie George fan, and that's a pretty good guy to emulate if you want to. Heisman Trophy winner. Finds a tight end, Ethan Wolf.
I think they're giving Josh Dobbs here, even though the clock is out, a little 1 minute offense opportunity.
What are the challenges if you want to go more tempo? What are the challenges in turning a 1 or 2 minute offense into a game-long offense in that regard?
Well, you have to make first downs. You know, the thing about going tempo, I mean, tempo sounds great and it can be a great edge, but if you don't make first downs and you have to punt really quick, that doesn't work too well when that happens a couple possessions in a row. So if you want to go tempo, you just have to be efficient, and you have to be able to move the chains when you do that.
When you talk about efficiency when it comes to quarterbacks, specifically Joshua Dobbs, is there a number that we could look out for coming up this season, a completion percentage number? He was just shy of 60% last year.
Yeah, I think that number needs to be between 65 and 70. Again, based on the way they run the football, that should be attainable for him. If he works on his footwork, they do a better job with Kamara and using him in the passing game, the wide receivers that we're not seeing today develop through summer camp. I think that's very realistic to throw 65, 67, 68% with this kind of a running game.
White team with an 11-point lead here late in the second quarter. That's Jakob Johnson, the tight end, in motion. And on play action, Dobbs flushed. And on the run, we'll turn it upfield.
Part of that is, Tom, also, and this is another part of a quarterback's development, is being okay with finding your check down receivers and dumping the ball off. And when you got guys like Kamara and Hurd and Kelly, I mean, it makes sense. Drop the ball off. If they make one guy miss in the open field, a 5-yard pass might turn into a 20-yard completion. Even if a deep play is called, if it's not there, don't force the football down the field.
They whistle Kamara dead in the backfield after the 11th play of this drive, and that will bring up a 4th down situation. Rashawn Golden with the stop, credited with the stop.
Sean Golden is a guy they have real high hopes for this year. He was missed all of last year with a foot injury. He was going to be their starting nickelback. Now Bob Shoop on the scene, and his defense is a 4-2-5, and Golden figures prominently into that plan.
Here's Alex Jones to attempt a 30-yarder from the left hash. And he sneaks it in the upright.
Holden Foster attempt from 30 yards.
12 plays, 65-yard drive, ends with a 30-yard field goal, and we may or may not be at half. The MC has the mic.
And let me hear you very loud. It's time for the quarterback challenge. Stand up and let's make some noise.
So we'll see 3 quarterbacks get some work here in the quarterback challenge. Dobbs, Dormady, and Zach Jancic, who got a few snaps earlier. And there's a little wrinkle towards the end of this. Butch Jones will announce it to the crowd here in a moment, but it's pretty simple otherwise. Intermediate throw, a long throw, trying to hit some targets, and as they go through it, they're progressing down the field.
3 throws and a moving target. 2 points if you make it. First up, Zach Jancic.
It certainly helps if you're a quarterback, if the student managers like you, because they can change the tempo of those targets.
Good job, Zach. Now we got a corner throw. Corner throw.
Again, with throws like this, you can't try to aim the football. You got to just trust your mechanics, trust your footwork, and just cut it loose and throw it.
Trying to hit the bar and the goalpost.
Fade in the corner, in the trash cans.
Up and over.
Total 4 points. Hey.
None of these throws are easy, I can assure you.
And they've been working on it throughout the week. In fact, they went through a dry run Thursday at the end of practice, so 4 points for
Next
Jancic.
up, Quentin Dormady.
Dormady attempted 22 passes all of last season. Backing up Dobbs.
2 points. 2 points. Corner throw.
Used to be my favorite route to throw, the corner route.
Why'd you like it so much?
Crossbar.
Just loved throwing the deep corner. I just liked where you could put the football. It would change the angle, would change sometimes. It might be flat. You might bring him back away from the defender. If it was man-to-man coverage, it was a little deeper angle, more like a 45-degree angle. Just always enjoyed making that throw.
4 points, Quentin Dormady. They're putting a little pressure on you, Josh. Let me hear ya.
4 is the number to beat, right?
Senior Josh Dobbs.
I'd get that out of the way right here. Hit these first 3.
Dobbs directing traffic, told Butch to get out of the way before that previous snap.
There you go.
There it is.
Corner throw. Crossbar. Six points, Josh Dobbs.
Josh is trying to say, hey, wait a minute. My first crossing route hit it too.
If I could have everyone's attention to the Jumbotron, we still have 1 throw left.
All right, this is a famous Tennessee throw back in 1996. Peyton Manning on a 3rd and short went for the quarterback sneak, bounced out of it, and on a roll right, he found Marcus Nash directing him to the back corner of the end zone. That put the game out of reach in the first play of the 4th quarter. Afterwards, Peyton hit the sideline with a big grin on his face, turned to his offensive coordinator, Randy Sanders, his quarterback's coach, and Philip Fulmer said, hey, great play call.
One of the greatest throws of the Peyton Manning era.
Well, the good thing was it was a quarterback sneak called, so he didn't have to worry about any linemen getting downfield to nullify that throw.
Jackson hits Nash. They got a cardboard cutout of Marcus Nash set up in the end zone.
We got Marcus Nash in the end zone.
When you're rolling out, you have to make sure you get your shoulders square to your target and try to get downhill at the target. You can't just keep drifting to the side. That's right on the face mask.
I remember Nash having better hands.
5 points.
And now Dobbs.
See, I think that's the point I was saying there is Josh Dobbs was drifting a little bit too far.
The end of practice Thursday, Preston Williams, a wide receiver, got out there and started going through the quarterback skills competition.
Don't nobody go where.
He wasn't
We're
bad.
taking about a 12-minute halftime break. And
we
we're
have
gonna
hit
finish strong
halftime
this year
here
with
in
Team
Knoxville.
120 It's halftime.
We've got plenty coming your way during the half. The team will hit the locker room. We'll be back to Neyland Stadium in a moment. Great Saturday afternoon for the orange and white spring game here in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium. It's a 51-42 score and a couple of numbers that don't mean a single thing. Tom Hart alongside Todd Blackley. Josh Dobbs today 5 of 9 here to start this game if you want to go by the raw numbers, but overall your impressions of him.
Well, I thought he was pretty good. I did like his movement in the pocket. I thought his accuracy was good. You know, his first 2 passes were dropped. One was an incompletion, one resulted in an interception, but I thought for the most part he was comfortable, he was confident, and he threw the ball on timing, and he threw it accurate. There was the interception on his second throw. Well-thrown ball that just got into the body of the receiver. Didn't let him affect him. Came back, made some nice throws down the field against some tight coverage. And again, the key for him is when there's easy throws to be made, take advantage of the easy throws, because you have to make some tough throws during the course of any game. But with that running game, he should be able to be an accurate passer for the season.
I almost hesitate to ask you this question. I know you brought your crystal ball. What are we going to see in the second half?
Jeez, I have no idea. I mean, I don't think we're going to see Hurd or Kamara carry the football or get hit very much. We may not see much of Josh Dobbs. I don't know what we're going to see in the second half. But Butch has kept it fun so far, so he'll keep us guessing. He'll keep everybody here guessing.
We've got some special guests in the building already tonight. We'll hear from some of them shortly. We'll also hear from them throughout the second half. We'll talk a little bit more about Tennessee's defense as well. Back to Tennessee in a moment. At the half here at Neyland Stadium, it's a 51-42 lead. Arbitrary numbers for sure. White leading the orange. A special day with plenty of special guests. For more on that, let's go down to the field where Dr. Jerry Punch has caught up with 2 very special college football connections.
Well, earlier today in a very special breakfast, 2 of the legends in coaching and broadcasting were honored here in Knoxville, Tennessee. The former head ball coach Steve Spurrier given the Robert R. Neyland Award, and of course my colleague and longtime friend Brent Musburger getting the Lindsey Nelson Award. Let's talk to Coach first. Coach, I know you coached at Florida and Duke and South Carolina, but you grew up in Tennessee and you understand what General Neyland was about. How special is this award to you?
Well, that's right, Jerry. Robert Neyland was one of the great coaches of all time. We all grew up sort of following a lot of his philosophies of coaching, and to have that award given to me is a special honor. I think it's one of the best awards I've ever had as a coach.
Since you were in Science Hill High School, football has been your life, and now this time of the year you'd be with that visor on out here calling some ball plays. How much do you miss it, Coach?
Oh, I don't miss the coaching part, but I do remember when I lived in Newport, Tennessee, my dad got 3 tickets to Shields-Watkins Field, and we had a seat in the bleachers in the end zone 2 rows up when Johnny Majors was playing Georgia Tech, I think, back in '55. So I got a lot of memories coming here as a kid, and of course I think I coached about 16 games here or so.
I heard from the coaches that you were in the tunnel just a few minutes ago with the coaches and players and absolutely entertaining the crowd. They said it was great to hear. How good was it for you to be back there with those guys?
Well, it's always neat to be around coaches. Butch Jones and his staff, they do a super job here. They may be ready for a breakout year. So it's always good to shake hands with some players. Josh Dobbs is a class kid, heck of a player. Jalen Hurd, the running back. So it's always neat to talk to those guys.
The former head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Let's get over here to my buddy Brent Musburger. And Brent, the Lindsey Nelson Award, let's talk about that. How special is it to you to get an award named after one of your great friends?
Yeah, you know, Jerry, it was probably the most special award I've ever received because he was a dear friend of mine. When I was a writer in Chicago covering baseball, I met him as the voice of the Mets. Then when I went to broadcasting, first time I'd ever been in a big-time booth, I'm the spotter. He's the play-by-play man. He taught me a lot of things about the business. You know, he spent a lot of time overseas in the Second World War, and he could tell such great stories about his life and sports career. It's very special to me, Jerry.
He also gave you something to live by in terms of how to treat other people. Share that with us.
Well, I was doing a Bear-Houston Oiler game down in the Astrodome. I was the spotter. And I prided myself on being the fastest spotter in the country. And you work with spotters, and I would point. I pointed at the wrong receiver as the Chicago Bears were scoring, and I was aghast. I kept pointing at the right one, And Lindsey kind of waved his arms like this. He was going to commercial. He went to break. He said, young man, don't worry about it. I'll correct it when I come back. No problem. And I said, wow. So he came back, effortlessly got the right receiver on the air, finished the game flawlessly. And afterwards, I was apologetic, wondering if I'd ever spot for him again. He said, no, I'll see you next week. Don't worry about it. Those things happen. And what he taught me was, you know, the support people that you have in television, and we have so many now at the SEC Network, they're the ones who do a lot of the hard work. And you should be mindful of that and not demand things all the time. And it was just a great lesson that I learned from Lindsey Nelson of behaving with class when you're in the booth. He was terrific.
Hey, Brandon, it is great to have you here. Congratulations on the Lindsey Nelson Award and a phenomenal career as my colleague and as a great broadcaster. When we hear you say you're looking live, we know it's a big game. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Jerry. I feel like grabbing the mic. I'm not used to being interviewed.
Brent Musburger, one of the all-time greats, along with the former head ball coach Steve Spurrier down here, guys.
All right, Doc, thanks. We got more coming your way from Neyland Stadium. Continue as we get closer to the second half right after this. Smokey enjoying a lazy Saturday afternoon here at Neyland Stadium. Crowd of better than 67,000 on hand today, third largest in Tennessee's spring game history. They await the second half, as do we. We'll bring you back to Knoxville and Neyland Stadium for all of that action right after this. The Tennessee spring game continues from Neyland Stadium, presented by Regions Bank. As we get set for the second half of action, in front of 67,000 here at Shields Watkins Field. Tom Hartop, Blackledge, Dr. Jerry Punch. And a special announcement coming up in mere moments. We're talking leadership here as we get ready for the start of the second half. And one of the greatest leaders in Tennessee football history was also one of the greatest players. Al Wilson was the only All-America selection from the 1998 National Championship team. Third on the squad with 77 tackles, including 12 in an overtime win against number 2 Florida. He set a school record with 3 forced fumbles in that game. Tennessee's most recent national championship team in 1998, highlighted by Al Wilson, and he's standing by with Dr. Jerry Punch.
We are with Al. Hey, welcome back to Neyland Stadium, Al. It's great to have you back here. What's your favorite flashback memory when you walk on this field?
1998 Florida game. The atmosphere was amazing. It was our platform on our way to the national championship. So that Florida game sticks out in my mind.
We're getting ready to hear from Butch Jones. What's your impressions of the job Butch is doing here with the program?
Unbelievable. What he's doing is amazing. I think all the players absolutely love him. I know all the ex-players love him, so we're excited about what he's doing. We're excited about the future.
Hey, Al, thanks for taking time to join.
My pleasure. Thank you.
One of the all-time greats, linebacker Al Wilson.
All right, Doc, thanks. Before we start the second half, Tennessee head coach Butch Jones has the microphone. He's getting ready to make a very special announcement and presentation here in front of the crowd, and a presentation and addresses that will not only be made to the fans here in the stands, but also the guys on the field. And he picked a pretty good guy in terms of a leader to join him in making this announcement. Even to this day, you ask John Chavis who helped that Tennessee defense grow into national championship defense, and that's the first name he mentions.
Yeah, great leader on and off the field, and a great player. Played with so much passion, just reckless abandon the way he played the game as well.
They just announced 2 of the captains, Cameron Sutton and Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Since Butch has been here, they have not had season-long captains, but rather game captains. Jalen Reeves-Maybin in the bucket hat, fighting his way back from his shoulder surgery. Been in a sling most of the time,
Leadership Award
not
is
wearing it today.
in honor of the former Vol All-American, first overall draft pick, NFL MVP, Super Bowl champion, and Ring of Honor member, He is considered one of the greatest leaders of all time in the game of football, both on the collegiate and professional levels. This year's winners are Joshua Dobbs and Alvin Kamara.
Two pretty good leaders to pattern your life and playing career after on each side of the ball.
Harvey Robinson
Al Wilson
Award,
and Peyton Manning.
the spring's most improved offensive player, is named in honor of the former Vol player, assistant coach, and head coach. This year's winner is Preston Williams. The Andy Spiva Award, given to the spring's most improved defensive player, is named in honor of the former Vol linebacker. This year's winner is Danny O'Brien.
Well, we haven't talked much about the defense, Todd, but Danny O'Brien, one of those guys up front that is going to play a key role for Tennessee this year.
Yeah, and I think this spring was huge for him, and that's why he's an award winner. When I was talking to Bob Shoop today, you know, when he got here, kind of the reputation or the word on Danny O'Brien was that he wasn't a great player. He didn't play hard all the time, but he's had an outstanding spring and has really factored in. That defensive line is a position of strength. We're not seeing a lot of the key guys in this spring game, but Danny O'Brien is a guy who has been healthy during the spring and has really elevated his game to a place where he's going to be a real contributor and a factor in this Tennessee defense.
Shai Tuttle's still out after his leg injury against Georgia about midway through the season. Derek Barnett missing time this spring, so it's Danny O'Brien, Khalil McKenzie, Owen Williams, and a couple other guys that the coaching staff pointed out, guys like Paul Bain and Charles Folger, guys that have allowed the defensive line to practice with depth. These aren't guys that you're going to read about most likely in the fall making big plays and getting a lot of snaps, but just allowing organizational depth to really hold practices.
Well, you have to be able to do that. I mean, and then along the way, you hope maybe you find a diamond in the rough also, a guy who shows up and makes plays that can fill in for you in some critical situations.
Thank you, Vol Nation. We had talked about a special announcement at halftime. And no, we don't have the Clydesdale horses coming out here or anything like that, but it's something very, very special to our football program because I think it symbolizes how far we've come here in a very short period of time. You're only as good as the leadership on your football team. When you go back and you look at all the great Tennessee football teams, they had one thing in common. They had great leaders and they had great teammates. For the first time, we're going to announce permanent captains. They were voted on by their peers, and I'm going to announce them to you. They're going to come out in all of Vol Nation, and they're going to tell you what you can expect for them as a leader and a representative from Team 120. First captain, we can give him a round of applause. I think this young man deserves a Tennessee standing ovation for everything that he was meant to us. He was part of our first signing class. Best corner in America, Cam Sutton.
This is crazy. It's an honor and a blessing to be recognized as one of the captains on this team. I'm just doing everything for this program, for my teammates, for my coaches, to help us and lead us to victory. We just need the same energy that we have out here today, carry it over to the fall season, and let's get ready to get out to the nation.
Next individual has not been here very long, but has asserted his leadership in this football program from day one. Welcome running back Alvin Kamara.
Vol Nation, what's up? Hey, 102-455 means something to all of us. You see these VFLs come back and support every game. The spring game is a big event, and we're out here loving each other, playing for each other. It's a family here. So this season, we need the same love and support from all y'all that we got last season, times 10. We need it. We're gonna take it all the way.
One of the things the coaches loved about Alvin Kamara, he came in from junior college and after a year of Alabama, and he wasn't an immediate vocal leader. He was leading by his actions before he started talking to his teammates.
Well, and that's a smart guy. I mean, you got to realize that the guy's got to get a feel for you and learn that they can trust you, and obviously they do.
What's up, Vonnet? I'm struggling. We thank you guys for your support. Every day we're working hard. We represent this Power T, and we're trying to do whatever it takes to get back to Tampa. So we'll see you guys in Florida this year.
And the last captain, senior linebacker, Jalen Reeves-Maybin. What an honor. First signing class, could have went anywhere in the country. He chose to stay home and represent his home state of Tennessee. Tennessee players, stay at home and represent the state of Tennessee.
What's up, Vol Nation? It's crazy because it seems like every time I come on this field, I get goosebumps every time, and it's no different right now. And it's a blessing to be able to address everybody in a moment like this. And I can just say that it's the best decision I ever made to come here. I know I'm gonna be good for life. VFL really means something. I want everybody to know that in the stands. VFL really means something. What y'all can get from me as a leader on this team, I'm gonna just hold my teammates accountable to a high standard, putting Vol Nation back where we should be, back on top. So that's where we belong.
So Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Josh Dobbs, Cameron Sutton, and Alvin Kamara, the 4 season captains for Tennessee, honored by Butch Jones. Spring awards handed out. More action coming your way. Second half action from Neyland Stadium, and a deep ball completed down the sideline to Preston Williams. Quentin Dormady now at quarterback for Tennessee as Josh Dobbs gets a breather.
I think both guys have thrown the ball down the field pretty well today. When you throw those deep routes against man coverage, it's important not to bring the ball back towards the middle of the field. Keep it out over the outside shoulder. And we've seen that from both Dobbs and Dormady.
That was a 39-yard completion from Dormady to Preston Williams. Jalen Hurd with a 6-yard carry there. And a touch in the backfield for Tennessee. And Corey Vereen, we already talked about him a little bit. When Bob Shoop took this job, the first thing he did was get in the film room and watch a lot of the games from last year, and he was impressed by number 50 immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, everybody knows about Derek Barnett, and Derek Barnett is really one of those guys who's not a super flashy player, but he's a grinder, and he just plays play after play, and Vereen really showed up as well. Again, we're not seeing some of the top defensive linemen on this team playing in the game today, but this is a defense that expects to be very good next year.
Here's Preston Williams on the crossing route. They'll rule him down inside the 5 at the 4-yard line. Barnett had 4 sacks last year for this Tennessee team, which won 9 games. You look at the injuries, guys missing time today. Jalen Reeves-Maybin has 26 starts to his name. Barnett's been out there each of the last 2 years. And even Shy Tuttle, big fella on the interior of the line, doesn't have a start to his name, but big expectations for Tuttle. Hurd gets touched just outside the line of scrimmage. No gain that time.
I think you've got some high-quality players at each level of the defense, which is important if you want to be a great defense. You've got some defensive linemen that are big-time players. I think we're going to see the emergence of Kirkland as a middle linebacker. I think the defense really started to play better last year when he became more of a regular player. And he's got all the intangibles to be a great inside linebacker. Darren Kirkland, a 6'1", 225-pound sophomore out of Indianapolis. And then, of course, you've got Sutton in the back end, one of the top corners in the league, if not in the country, and a couple of experienced safeties to go with it.
Kirkland had remarkable production last year, 66 tackles, and as you said, really took over late in the season. We got more opportunities to play. He was an early enrollee out of Lawrence Central High School in Indianapolis, but was injured and didn't play in the spring game. Hurd gets a bump from Todd Kelly Jr. You talked about the safety position. They're trying to replace 2 starters. Todd Kelly will be fighting for one of those spots alongside Rashawn Golden.
Yeah. And again, Golden missing all of last year. He would have been a starter, a regular player, had he not gotten hurt.
Evan Berry out with a shoulder injury. He was on the practice field Thursday. 4th and goal, and Butch getting the crowd fired up for this play. It's Hurd who gets spun around and dropped in the backfield. There's Rashawn Golden making a play. Loss of 5. Let's take you back down the field as we check in with Doc again.
Well, we talked about all the changes and things that have to change in the secondary, and one of the guys that's been a major part of that, really excited about what he's got this year, is assistant head coach and secondary coach Willie Martinez. And Willie ran out on the field to be a part of the excitement for his players and Rashawn Golden. Let me get out here and grab Willie if we can here. Hey, Coach, let's just chat with you a second. What does Cam Sutton, the newly minted captain, mean to your defense?
Well, the great thing is when we recruited him, we said, look, why don't you be the guy that can set the example and bring back, you and Jalen Reeves-Maben, be the guys that put Tennessee back on top of college football. He means everything to us because he's been very consistent in everything he's done, whether he's been on the field or off the field. He's done nothing but given a great example of what a leader should be like.
What about Rashawn Golden? Last year, I know he had a great spring in fall camp. Everyone was talking about what a force he was going to be at nickel. Now he's back. What kind of spring has he had at strong safety?
He's had a great spring. He's really taken off right where he left off. He's a playmaker. You just saw the last play he just had there. And he electrifies our defense. He plays with an unbelievable amount of energy, and all the players feed off of it. And he loves the game, and his teammates love him. And obviously you have a chance to be successful when you have that.
And quickly, you got a freshman stepping in, a young man that just in high school 3 months ago, Osborne.
Yeah, Marquell's done a great job. He's come here early enrollee, and he's very versatile. He can play a lot of positions, and obviously he's a corner, but he can play really good at nickel, and he's done a great job.
Hey, Coach, thanks for your time.
Okay, thanks, Doc.
Willie Martinez, assistant head coach and defensive back coach here at Tennessee. Pretty excited about what he's got coming back here for this team.
All right, Doc, thanks so much. The only thing you don't want to see in a spring game is an injured player. And extra time between Doc and Willie after Brett Kendrick had to be helped off the field.
Kendrick is one of the guys that everybody has said really stepped up this spring. We heard offensive line coach Don Mahoney talking about him with Jerry in the first half. Kendrick is a guy who was getting a lot of reps this spring because Chance Hall was out with an injury. Ja'Shawn Robinson, the starting right guard, was out. And Kendrick really asserted himself as a player and a leader. And you hate to see him leaving the field with the assistance of trainers.
Darrell Taylor in on that last stop for the Orange team.
John Kelly carries.
They get after John Kelly on that carry. He had a touchdown early in this spring game.
We talked about
after a gain of 1.
Bob Shute being a new addition to this coaching staff, a good addition to the staff. Another new assistant on the offensive side, Larry Scott, came in as the tight ends coach, was the interim coach at Miami when Al Golden was let go down there, and came to Tennessee. very excited to be here. And Butch Jones was telling me today, it's just the fact that he was an interim head coach and that experience, he's really been a good resource for me here in the spring ever since he's got here. And it doesn't hurt that he's spent most of his career coaching and recruiting in the state of Florida. And Butch said, oh, by the way, we recruited Florida better this year than we've ever done since I've been here. So a great addition to the staff on the offensive end and on the recruiting trail, and Larry Scott.
15 years of experience, in Miami won 4 of their last 5 games with Larry Scott as the interim head coach. There's Alvin Kamara fielding a 42-yard punt. Weekdays at 3 Eastern on the SEC ESPN network. Paul Feinbaum shares his opinions on SEC football through knowledge of the conference and interaction with his longtime callers. It's also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Let's go back down to Doc.
Guys are talking about Larry Scott and what he has brought to the program. He told me, he said, I was so impressed with how much these kids here want to learn. When I came in and started teaching them technique, he said they were like sponges. When you talk to the players, they say Coach Scott has brought more than just being a great tight end coach. He's added some new schemes and new wrinkles to the run game. He's also changed some things with regard to how Tennessee will use tempo in the fall. So stay tuned.
That's a great tease, Doc, because I'm really intrigued by what Tennessee may look like come September when Appalachian State comes to town, and of course that big game at Bristol Motor Speedway against Virginia Tech. And I wonder, Todd, as we look at some of these changes that Butch Jones is putting his entire program through defensively and offensively, is this to make that next step to be able to compete with the Alabamas of the world and to be an SEC championship, national championship caliber program?
Well, I think you got to find what works for you. You know, you can't just jump on whatever somebody else is doing just because it looks good. You got to kind of figure it out, and that's part of what they're doing. I'm sure we're not seeing it here, but in these 15 days of practice, they've looked at a lot of different things, and they will continue to evaluate in the summer and figure out what fits best for them to give them the best chance to compete. As you look at that schedule, a great early test with Virginia Tech in a high-profile game, and then once that league schedule starts, it is very top-heavy, starting with the Florida game.
Justin Fuente is the new coach in Blacksburg, taking over for Frank Beamer. And Doc, that game at Bristol Motor Speedway is going to be some kind of spectacle.
It is going to be unbelievable. They have sold it out, basically 150,000 plus. And what they're doing with the field, they've got 14 days between the last NASCAR race and the football game. They're going to build the field out in the parking lot. They got to raise the infield some 3 feet. They got to add dirt and gravel, raise it up 3 feet, level it, bring the field in, and then they're going to put over 150,000 people there. The all-time largest crowd in college football history. It should be a wild one between Tennessee and Virginia Tech.
You know, Doc, when I was talking to the coaches this morning, both Mike DeBoard and Bob Shoup both brought up an interesting question. They said they wanted to kind of get over there at some point this summer and figure out from the press box standpoint, I mean, what are the sight lines? How far from the field will they be? Will it be a different type of feel for both of them being in the press box calling a football game?
Yeah, you're going to be quite far away in terms of the press box is some like 8 stories high above where the racetrack is. So definitely going to be a difference in terms of their visibility concept. They probably may have some NASCAR kind of spotters down near the field.
Doc, thanks so much. They may also want to ask about traffic getting out of Bristol. We'll be back to Knoxville in a moment. Tomorrow is Softball Sunday, and the SEC ESPN Network has 3 great matches starting at 2 Eastern with Ole Miss in South Carolina. Then at 4:30, number 13 LSU faces Mississippi State. And at 7 o'clock, 17th-ranked Tennessee continues its series down in Athens against number 10 Georgia. All games streaming live on Watch ESPN and on the ESPN app. Spring game continues. They just went through the offensive line versus the defensive line. And we'll have a punting competition now.
45 with the hang time, a 4.4. Tommy Townsend.
By the way, Butch is on the microphone here in front of 67,000 people in Neyland Stadium. It's not at all a departure from where and how he lives his everyday life, because on the practice fields just across the street, he is mic'd up each and every day.
Yeah, he is a high-energy, high-passion guy. He coaches that way every day. And Very comfortable with the mic.
Now we're coming down here. It's like playing golf.
Butch
We got
Jones's
little
voice
pooch
is the
putty.
soundtrack to Tennessee practice each and every day, is it not?
Yeah, I've been out here the last couple of weeks and watching him and listening to him. The players love it because he's constantly moving among the position groups. He has the microphone, so when he speaks, everybody in practice can hear. He'll go over and talk about leverage with offensive linemen, about contested catches with the defensive backs and the receivers. And when he challenges a player or a team, everyone hears that challenge, so it gets them fired up. And when someone does a nice job, he's not afraid to compliment his players, using the microphone, let everyone know someone did a nice job catching the ball, making a tackle, making a block. So his using that mic is a great way to increase it up the tempo and the energy for their practices.
End zone.
Great communication tool as they try to kill punts inside the 5-yard line with some pooch kicks.
There's one other coach that does that on a consistent basis that I've seen. There may be more than this, but Todd Graham at Arizona State also wears a microphone just about every day in practice. Is constantly coaching the same way.
Punters are people too, and so we show their coverage here, but to hold you, we'll step away for a break. Back to Knoxville in a moment.
SEC Network Spring Football is presented by Regions Bank, proud to be the official bank of the SEC.
Back on Rocky Top as we move towards the end of the orange and white spring game. The punters had their day in the sun, and now it's back to a scrimmage. We've got a 3-point game with 10 minutes left on the clock.
See, that punting competition was just to ensure that those guys would have to shower after this as well. So they didn't just take that shower pill and get out of here.
John Kelly with the carry on the right side. John Kelly would be a nice wild card for Tennessee. Of course, we've talked a lot about Jalen Hurd and Alvin Kamara. But he had plenty of opportunity this spring to show what he can do. And as a basically third-string running back going into the season, might be a guy that they need to lean on.
Yeah. Well, on a third-team running back that would probably be a starter on several teams. Just so happens he plays on a loaded backfield team.
It's a Tennessee team still looking to get healthy. One of those guys down on the sideline with Doc Punch, Jalen Reeves-Maybin.
And newly crowned captain Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Hey, congratulations. What does that mean to you?
It means everything, just to have the respect of my teammates and have the trust of my teammates and the trust of the coaches to believe in me to lead our team. It's a big honor.
We're going to ask you a little bit, a new defensive coordinator, and you knew Bob Shoop before. How well did you know him before he got here?
We were really close throughout my recruitment. He was probably one of my oh, we got to watch out.
Yeah, we don't need to get you hurt anymore. Okay, go ahead.
Definitely one of my favorite coaches, if not my favorite coaches throughout my whole recruitment process. So just getting back, being able to work with him again is kind of like something that was meant to be.
The players on defense seem so excited. I know we're not seeing a lot here, excited about what he's bringing, but how would you describe what he brings defensively to this program?
I think the one word that you'll continue to hear is aggressive. He's an attacking style of defense. Not going to be a team that sit back on our heels. We're going to get after it up front, and we're going to make things happen.
You going to be ready on September 3rd?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be ready. Just continue my rehab process and keep being on pace that I am now, and I'll be ready to go.
Hey, congratulations, Captain. Good luck this fall.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jalen Reeves-Maybin, will linebacker and one of the captains for Tennessee.
Got a nice little ring to it, doesn't it? Comes from an athletic family. His brother, Aaron Maybin, was a first-round pick. His cousin Aaron Maybin and his other cousin Cameron Maybin, a major league outfielder. And his dad was a 1,000-point scorer for Denny Crum at Louisville. Great basketball standout. Said he remembered going to the Louisville games as a youngster, just could barely walk, but he remembers Denny Crum walking out to the parking lot, and he still had his program rolled up in his hand, walking out to get into the coach's car. Plenty of action today on the SEC ESPN Network. Coming up next, LSU's National L Club spring game. Then at 6, the Barry Odom era gets underway in Columbia. Black and gold game as he replaces 15-year head coach Gary Pinkel. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
I'll tell you one guy who has showed up today in this particular series. He's made 3 tackles in a row. Cortez Sapp. Number 14, an outside linebacker who is getting a lot of reps. Again, we talked about the injuries to guys like Maben. Reeves-Maben, that gives a chance for Sapp to come in. He's been in a real competitive battle with Cortez McDowell for one of those linebacker spots. Sapp was played at Milton High School in Georgia. He was actually had aspirations of being a Division I basketball player. Played for a friend of mine there, by the way, Matt Kramer, high school basketball coach with roots in Ohio. Cortez Sapp decided to get to football, and they think he's really got a chance to be good.
A couple of tackles by Gavin Bryant as well. We step away for a timeout. Back to Knoxville after this. And so the orange and white game comes to an end, and Butch instructs his guys to head over to the Pride of the Southland Marching Band, a little Rocky Top and more, as they get ready for their off-season. And Todd, really now you get to the off-season, chance for individuals to take that personal responsibility to continue to improve.
Yeah, right now it's finish up academically. You're done with spring football. Finish the drill, finish strong academically, and then, you know, it really, college football, much like pro football, has become a year-round process now. There's not a whole lot of time off. You'll be right back at it here and getting yourself ready for fall camp.
The 120th season of Tennessee football is just around the corner. It'll be year 4 of the Butch Jones era. And he's standing by with our Dr. Jerry Punch.
Yeah, the fans can't wait for what's happening in a few months, and neither can this guy here. Coach, what excites you most about what you've seen out of Team 120 here in the spring?
Well, just being competitive, and we're starting to develop some depth. We're still not there yet, but this will be a great teaching tool as we go to back in the offices tomorrow and really work as we continue to grow our identity for Team 120.
Some of the goals were improving physicality. How do you think you did?
Well, I'll know a little bit more from this game. And we had some thud situations, but you could still be physical. But it was really great for our younger players really to get out here and compete in front of 67,000 plus. And as you know, when you put people in the stands and it's a little bit hot now, everything changes, and that's where your mental endurance, your mental intensity kicks in.
I know coaches don't want to hear this, but after the way you finished last year, the fans, the players, the media, everyone saying Tennessee is the favorite to win the SEC East. What are your expectations?
Well, our expectations are to be the best possible football team and football program we can be each and every day. We don't look at that. They're always internally, your expectations are very high. That's why you're the University of Tennessee. But we have to focus on the process, and that's just being a better football team and a better football program minute by minute, hour by hour, and day by day.
Can't let you go until I ask you about the 4 captains. A pretty special announcement. Never had permanent captains. All 4 of those guys pretty excited.
Well, very special, and they were elected by their peers, and this is only the second time of a head coach where I've really entrusted a total team with captains, and they've earned it. They've deserved it. You look at individuals coming back. Tennessee is truly a special place.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for having us here today. Letting us be a part of this spring game. Good luck to you in the fall.
Thank you again.
Butch Jones, head coach of the University of Tennessee, and folks, they are excited here in Rocky Top about what is going to happen in 2016.
All right, Doc, thank you so much. Great job down there today. Tom Hart alongside Todd Blackledge. There's a reason the expectations are so high. Josh Dobbs has 22 starts under his belt. They've got great running backs. They'll have a fantastic defense. But then there's also the SEC schedule.
Yeah, and they've got to prove it on the field, and they've got to finish games better than they did a year ago. And when you look at this schedule, when they get into their SEC mark, it starts off hard, and those first 4 games are incredibly difficult within the league. They've got that exciting game at Bristol Motor Speedway, 150,000 people with Virginia Tech. But look at that league schedule. It starts with Florida, who they haven't beaten for 11 consecutive games. Georgia, a lot of energy, new coach with Kirby Smart there. And then that game at Texas A&M is not going to be easy going to College Station. And then Alabama, their cross-sectional rival in the conference that they haven't beaten for 9 consecutive games. So those first 4 SEC games, super challenging for this team.
They won their final 6 games of last year, including an Outback Bowl blowout of Northwestern. They start with Appalachian State and then Virginia Tech. As you saw some of these non-conference games, what does Butch Jones need to see from his team early to show that they can not only contend but win those games you just talked about?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and you know, he needs his team to stay healthy. You know, we didn't have a lot of guys that played here in this game because of injuries. Some guys recovering from surgeries. Some guys that maybe could have played but didn't play. But he needs his team, when they get ready to start into that SEC schedule, to be at full strength and healthy and playing at their peak ability. And then I think just the thing that he was talking about with Jerry, sticking to the process, getting better every day, not getting caught up in the expectations, what fans might think, what prognosticators might think, because it still comes down to, can we win games on the field? And he talked about chasing those 25 points. And 13-5 in their last 18 games, all decided those 5 losses by a total of 25 points. Can we finish games and find those 25 points?
Well, we think they'll have great depth and talent at running back. One of those guys is Alvin Kamara. He's standing by now with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Yeah, how about this Alvin Kamara? You come in here, you go to Alabama first, you go to junior college, come here, and they said you just put your head down and worked and worked and worked and earned a lot of respect with your work ethic, and suddenly your teammates vote you as captain. How special is that?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. You know, like you said, came in from Alabama and just worked, you know, made sure to earn the respect of those guys, my coaches, teammates, these fans, and that's what's happened, and they voted me captain. I mean, I couldn't have done it without them. I'm honored to be a captain for this team.
You averaged 6.5 yards a run a year ago. Pretty impressive. But you said you wanted to work in this spring at being a better pass blocker, using your hands. How have you done?
Just working on the little things, hand placement. First off, recognizing blitzes to be able to pick them up. My feet, that's one of the big things that allows you to be a successful pass blocker, good feet. So working on feet with my hands and recognition, I mean, I feel like I've gotten a lot better this spring.
What's it like being in the backfield with Jalen Hurd? You two are like thunder and lightning back there.
Yeah, it's fun being back there with him, you know. A hard-working guy, a lot of credit to him, respect for each other. It's my brother back there, so I mean, when we get to strap it up on Saturdays, it's fun every time.
Do you let yourself think about what this team could do this year?
We stay focused on us. It's a lot of hype going around, but we got to keep our heads down and work, and we'll get what we put in.
Hey, Alvin, thanks for your time, and congratulations on being a captain.
Thank you.
Alvin Kamara, guys.
All right, thanks, Doc. You know, you brought it up earlier. This is a team that's going to be favored to win the East. They're going to be a top 10 team. Embrace it. Don't ignore it.
Right.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Run with it. But, again, stick to the process. Stay with your nose to the grindstone, because it's not going to come easy and nobody's going to hand it to them. So they're going to have to work for it. And the more you play, if you play well early, you pick up some confidence. You win against Florida for the first time in 11 games. That'll give them a huge boost.
Now, we didn't see a lot of guys today that would be impact players in the fall. Derek Barnett with 10 sacks last year. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, who's out. Some guys along wide receivers especially. But there's also a lot of talent coming in, and that's how Butch Jones has built this program over his 3 years plus.
Well, recruiting is something he excels at, and I think his staff is and you have to. If you want to survive in this league, you have to be able to recruit well. And, you know, Tennessee is not necessarily a state that produces a ton of Division I football players, so you got to go outside within the footprint of the SEC, and he's done that. I mean, he's done a great job recruiting, and he's done it now for 4 years. This is his 4th year, so this is his team, all recruited guys by him, and this is the year for them to come through.
If they don't win the East, is it a disappointment?
That's hard to say. I mean, I still, you can't put that expectation on them. I think they want to be better than they were last year. I think they got a great chance to do that.
One of the hottest teams in college football. They'll open the season with a 6-game win streak. And today, the Orange betters the White by a touchdown in a high-scoring Saturday afternoon.